Oh, here we are. I'm looking down. Hello, everybody. We're doing a pop up, so it's going to be probably a few minutes before anybody notices that we're on. So I guess we can just chat. Um, I contacted Kathy today and asked her if she would do a pop up about this. I don't know what to call it. This dystopian, otherworldly kind of experience that we're having in the United States with a Supreme Court that's gone full on corrupt and full on rogue and is pretty much telling the American people we prefer a dictatorship. And
We prefer our dictatorship.
yeah, well, that kind of that's, right. That just goes along with it. We wouldn't be in charge. So gosh, I mean, I don't know how you were feeling yesterday. I just want you to know that I knew from the get go I wasn't going to listen to it because I would get too upset.
Same here. I had
Oh,
people texting me going, "Are you listening?" I was like, "Are you out of your mind?"
no, I know.
No.
I tune in and I was like, I will not be able to handle it. It will just be too much. I won't have anyone just scream and yell at while it's going on. And better if I just wait and listen to Midas Touch and other great news sources, which I think are going to go more mainstream. It's a different topic, but connected. Um, do you agree with that? Do you agree with that?
I
The
don't know whether Midas will or not. I think they're a little sensationalistic, to be honest, the way that they but
well,
they're
that's the mainstream, right? That's what mainstream does.
hello. Yay.
Hey, we're popping up for
Yay. All right.
for a little more than half an hour. What I mean is just by saying that is like the podcasts that are pro democracy and like for instance Midas Touch YouTube channels and Brian Tyler Cohen and all those channels, I feel like since they're getting so much mileage that people are going to be going more to those as sources of information rather than the mainstream, which the mainstream has more to do with the horse race of a presidential election. And this is not that. What's going on with
Oh,
the election is not that.
and I would also add that a podcast like Midas Touch explains what's going on.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what I mean.
that and Sisters in Law, that's another podcast
Yeah.
that explains what's going on.
Yeah, we need it explained, and the mainstream cable networks are not explaining what's going on. And as we know, the right wing extremist channels are going down the road of Putin propaganda. And so it just seems like we just keep getting pummeled. Like, okay, hit after hit after hit, attacking our democracy from so many angles in so many ways that I it's really distressing. It's overwhelming. And I've heard many other people that do have podcasts and YouTube channels say, I mean, people that are in the lawyer business say that they're being pummeled with, they can't keep up, which is a fascist tactic. How's your day going?
Uh, well, I looked at yesterday's transits against Trump, every single member of the Supreme Court, the U.S. Uh, Declaration of Independence chart, the Constitution
Whoa.
chart, and then I put every justice with Trump. So that on top of actually like running the rest of my business,
You
it's
get a
it's
bell.
hey.
You.
But I want everyone to know today I am not dressed up. I am wearing my. Oh,
Oh,
I
you're.
thought I had it backwards. Sorry. Can you see it? It says we are the granddaughters of the witches you could not burn. So
I
that
have.
is my shirt for today.
I have that. Have you seen that? I have that. I have somebody sent it to me. It's somewhere. It's a sign that says that.
Oh no, I have the shirt.
Yeah.
One of my
Cool.
tarot students sent me the shirt.
Who sent it to you?
One of my tarot students sent me the shirt.
Oh yeah, one of my viewers sent me that. It's a like a plaque.
Good.
Don't know really if she was referring to me as a witch. I'm not really sure. Sounds like it.
I can explain why this is happening now.
That's why we're here, everybody.
All right. Why this is happening now. The United States is having its Chiron return. A return is when a body comes back to where it was when a previous event happened. Like your Chiron has a 50-year cycle. At about the age of 50, you will experience Chiron back in where it was when you were born. The US has Chiron in the sign of Aries, warring, aggression, I call it toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And if you take it back, and every 50-year increment, there are several themes. One of them is executive branch or presidential campaign scandal / corruption. 50 years ago was Watergate. 50
Yeah.
years before that, Warren G. Harding and the Teapot Dome scandal, previously the most known corrupt administration, I would say. We've outdone that one. 50 years before that, Ulysses S. Grant's campaign had some massive scandal with paying off tax people. There's like it,
Oh,
and
really?
50 years before that, the Speaker of the House, a man named Henry Clay, had some kind of weird, dubious pact with the Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams. Does that name sound familiar? And whatever they did caused the election to be thrown to the House, where Henry Clay was the Speaker of the House. And John Quincy Adams became president. So this is a theme, all right? So it makes sense that during the Chiron return that we would have this particular issue being argued about. But there are other themes I want to point out. One of them is changes in the status of women.
Okay, can we just back up a little because a lot of people don't know about Chiron.
Okay, Chiron is it's an asteroid. It's a dwarf planet. It only became part of the astrological dictionary late in the 20th century. It was discovered in 1977, and it is named for a very wise centaur in Greek myth, trained a lot of people, and who exchanged his immortality in order to gain release from an abiding wound that he had. All right. Now, I've heard two versions of the story. One of them is that he got between Hercules and a poisoned arrow that Hercules shot. And so the poison couldn't get out of his system. But I've recently heard that there's also the version that he did this to release Prometheus from his suffering. Regardless, there's something here about a wound that will not go away. It's always there. And in Aries, it has to do with fighting, warring, aggression, autocracy, trying to cram your will over somebody else's. And issues of individual rights are always big. And there are two groups of society whose individual rights have been spotlit during this time. And one of them is women. 50 years ago, Roe v. Wade was decided. 50 years before that, was the aftermath of women getting the right to vote in the flapper era. 50 years before that was the spiritualist suffragette movement.
Right.
Abolition is also part of this. Okay, that's another theme of this. So the rights of Black people, of minorities, that's another theme in all of this. So the fact that we had a case earlier this week in which there were men in robes actually contemplating that it being the proper thing to do to allow women to bleed to death in parking lots.
I was going ballistic. I was really going ballistic.
Yeah, well, I'm amazed that Sonia Sotomayor has not stroked out in the past couple of days with what she's been listening to.
Right. Can I just ask you about Chiron? So in the myth about Chiron, you said that he gets hit with the poisonous arrow, and does he die or does he just? He
can't get rid of the poison. It's there.
He doesn't die from it.
So he goes to Mount Olympus and he trades his immortality to become mortal so he can die and evade the pain. So there's something in Chiron where we ultimately have to master it in some way.
Does it have to do with killing off something too?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily killing it off.
Well, because it sounds like what you're saying about the myth is that he traded his immortality, so he became mortal, but he still had the poison.
But he became okay, I see where you're going, but no, he, like, sunk completely into physical existence at that point.
So he did die, but not from the
Yeah,
poison.
well, he died, because yeah, he died. I'm not sure that I see where you're going, but I'm not
Well,
sure.
no, but I'm just wondering if that's representative of he became mortal. He traded his immortality. He became mortal, but he had this poison from the arrow in him. But did that? It's almost like a challenge, right? That
Did the
the
poison
wounded
kill
healer,
him?
right? The wounded healer, isn't Chiron like the wounded healer?
He is, and the poison might have been what killed him. It's very likely. It's very likely. But he gained relief from the pain that he couldn't go away, that he couldn't get to go away.
Right,
So we've got this built into our nature. It's just part of
right,
the country. And there's some timing that we can know, that we can see in the near future, that's based on what happened this week. One of them is Chiron was part of the solar eclipse on April 8th. It was really close to the sun.
yeah,
At the end of May, Mars, which sets things in motion when it hits sensitive spots, Mars is going to, on the 29th, hit the degree of the solar eclipse. And then within a couple of days, it's going to hit the US Chiron. So something
oh, right,
definitive will happen. And there are a bunch of other things that are timed to happen in May as well, because so everyone's going, I never heard of Chiron. How it is me. Okay, so there's another thing I want to weave into
sorry,
this. The other
right,
thing I want to weave into this is an astrological configuration that we've talked about a bunch. It just happened. Jupiter meeting Uranus, the planet
right,
that expands everything, meeting the planet that awakens, liberates, disrupts. This one is locked into just about everybody's chart that was involved in the hearing yesterday. And there will be two
wow,
important things happening in May to watch for. One of them is May 18. So everyone's sticking in the back of their mind. May 18, Venus, which rules money, which rules women, will be conjunct Uranus. So maybe, I mean, it's unlikely that we get the result from the case involving women not having any healthcare rights um, that early, but it could be. It could be that they'll wait and they'll dump it on us when the uh, term is over at the end of June. But there'll be something big breaking then. And again, this could involve all kinds of things with Trump. I mean, think about how those topics are just interwoven to everything that he does. And
yeah,
then on May 31st, Mercury, which is communication, messages, information, meets Uranus. So something breaks loose. There's some shocking, startling news. Maybe that's when the decision comes down.
which one?
Get the immunity decision. It's possible. But so if you're sitting around freaking out like, oh my God, how does this guy get off? This week was horrible for him astrologically, especially yesterday. Even with what was going on in the Supreme Court, the aspects to his chart are unavoidable and just unpleasant as can be. And I'd say the best that he's going to get out of the Supreme Court is a delay. But think of the other things that happened in the New York trial. His old buddy laid bare this long-standing influence campaign, not just for that, not just for the two payoffs that are part of this, but there's a long pattern of it. And it actually came out that one of these meetings, the director of the FBI was present. So
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff breaking out there. His appeal of the E. Jean Carroll case was thrown out.
yeah.
So there's other stuff happening, and
No,
it's
so we have to kind of keep a list of everything that's happened. I might start doing that because it's just so hard to track anything. And he seems very shaken. Just listening to him doing these interviews on right wing media like Newsmax, I'm like, oh, his voice, it's on, you can't even listen to it anymore. And I think it has to do with how there's a lot of fear in his voice. I kind of read voices.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah. Well, and also everyone know this. I was talking about Chiron. Chiron in his chart, the nodes of the moon right now are on his Chiron, meaning that this is a pivotal destiny shaping moment in his life.
So when Chiron hits somebody in a certain way in their chart, what would they expect? What's a likely, kind of scenario?
Well, you're going to get, this is the Chiron is that horrible, horrible trite saying about peeling the layers of the onion and there's still more onion. This is more onion revealing itself
Eventually,
like,
it's no onion. Eventually, you get to the end of the onion, right? Eventually,
mm. Anyway,
no.
so for him, so his wound has to do with the kind of deals that he makes with money. Like the deals that he's made with people and maybe it also has to do with his not feeling, his trying to attach himself to other people so that his self-worth is tied up in his
Oh yeah.
arrangements with other people. Well, the South Node is there. So right now, all of this stuff about his past entanglements is coming out and out and out and out and out.
Yeah. Have you noticed if you've watched PNN, the past two shows, Monday and Wednesday, the Sun card keeps coming up. You read tarot. What do you think that means? Because I have a pretty good idea.
Well, I have an additional thing.
Like,
So yeah, that's showing it all. But also, do you think there are only 5 children? I think there are more.
Oh God, no! And he's had as far as this whole abortion thing, you think what's the likelihood that he's unprotected sex, admittedly unprotected sex, repeatedly with many women to the point that what's his name Pecker was or somebody was saying that he was like the most eligible bachelor and he was married when
Married and then just had a baby.
Being referred to as an eligible bachelor. Okay,
Yep.
so what are the chances, just statistically, unprotected sex? We don't have to go down that road too much, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that he had either and or has children and has not had pregnancies go through.
So, and I just want to go on record as this kind of stuff is somebody's personal business until it's not. I mean, this is our business because he's like if he were just a disgusting billionaire running around or disgusting play billionaire running around New York City, that wouldn't be my business. But no, it's our business.
It involves us because he got himself involved. If he never ran for president, he'd be living a nice life, right?
Maybe. Who knows?
I kind of think he would. Not, like I was mentioning the Sun card, none of this would have the limelight on it, right?
Well, it wouldn't matter. I mean, he'd just be calling up newspapers and saying he was John Bannon and being his own PR agent. But
yeah, probably true.
Yeah. So I looked at all the individual justices and what's going on this week, and to put it in, like, to sum it up, we can look at specific ones if you want. To sum it up, Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett fundamentally align with him energetically in many, many ways. Alito's got his own long-standing fury that's been corked up for God knows how long. That's going on. But Coney Barrett also, however, is a wild card with him. And she could really, really push back on a whole lot of things. So do not lose faith in the reactions that she had in both hearings. He may end up regretting having nominated her. And I will say, last night, one of my someone I know who was the person who was demonstrating in front of the Manhattan courthouse, who got quoted in the New York Times a bunch of times, put a message up in my astrology group saying, "Somebody here, Kathy, explain Alito, what's going on?" So I looked at it.
Let me just tell you, on my walk this morning, I walk whenever the weather's nice, I walk every single day. And this morning I'm like, I'm tuning into Alito because this is what I do. I don't know if you do this kind of thing, but I tuned into his energy and I was like, wow, that man has been raging for a very long time. I don't know what happened to Justice Alito in his childhood, but he's had, just like you're saying, he's had a vendetta against the human race, it feels like, for a very long time. That's probably in his chart.
And women.
Yeah.
Right now, women.
Rage.
And he is a stickler. He is a stickler.
Yeah.
He is a stickler.
Yeah.
And stuff is coming up this year that's going to be really uncomfortable for him, with him. And the solar eclipse in October activates his sun. Now, I'm not going to say, oh my God, he's going to leave. He's going to leave the court. But a huge change is coming for him growing out of the middle of October. So, and that could be as simple as having colleagues on the court who don't align with his rage.
Oh, that would be good. And maybe Biden will expand the court.
Or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so Alito's taking advantage of the podium while he has it. And right now, Mercury in the sky, which is in Aries, is right on top of Mercury in his chart, which is in Aries. So he's just like an overdrive with,
power. Yeah.
Screaming. Yeah. So
we want to know about, who we want to know about besides Trump.
What, Clarence?
Yeah.
Okay, let me find it.
We've been talking about him on our shows kind of a lot. And that Monday, remember that Monday?
Yeah, when he didn't show up?
I have a feeling, I'll check in with you on this. I have a feeling he was involved in some behind the scenes shenanigans. Even though we're saying we think he wasn't feeling well, that's going on all the time anyhow, I think. But I kind of felt like he was up to, no good meeting with people, which I feel that a lot. It's probably not surprising and doesn't take a psychic, but.
Well, I will say that the two hearings this week, lit up his home and career axis in his chart and laid the groundwork for something radically different to happen. And how that plays out, I don't know, but again, so for a couple of these people, just mark. I've told you this timeline of middle of May, end of May, a lot of stuff happening and shifting. End of August is also really definitive, and that will be for him. End of August, something could, if he's going to, that's a window for situations getting to the point where he's got to go.
No return.
However they play out, however it comes, whatever the cover is. But, and stuff was laid in place now in the last 2 weeks, that's going to lead to that. So we'll see.
Yeah. So it was Monday, not this past Monday, but last Monday, right? That he didn't show up to his Supreme Court meeting. And we don't know where he was. It wasn't on the news, right? I don't know if you heard anything.
Oh, he has not said. No, he has not said.
Okay, so he just keeps it all secret to himself, right? Then he doesn't recuse himself, even though Ginny Thomas was directly involved in the insurrection, directly. So we're finding out that the Supreme Court is an illegitimate court. So it sounds like what you're saying is it's going to move in the direction of kind of a breakdown.
Yes. And this is going to pull Kavanaugh in as well.
Oh, because of all his debts that got paid by a mysterious.
No, I'm just saying astrologically, there's something going on right now. and his problem is his own self-undoing. All right. Saturn in the sky is on top of Kavanaugh's Chiron, and it could have to do with drinking. It could have to do with lying. It could have to do with huge boundary problems, getting involved with like not knowing where you and somebody else, you stop and somebody else starts. And this is going to get revisited in a big way in August. And also his home and career absolutely activated by what happened this week, much more tightly than Thomas's. So there's something that is baked into, I can't believe I used that. Sorry. There's something that's inherent in whatever has just happened that is part of the destate. It's going to start bringing attention to Kavanaugh in a way he wishes didn't.
Wow. My mind's going like, oh, it could be this, it could be that, could be this.
I know there's so many things. It will involve money and sex. Oh, gee. And possibly drinking. So, entertainment.
Yeah. As soon as you mentioned it, my first thought was he's drinking too much beer. He likes beer too much. That he ever made it onto the Supreme Court. I mean, it's just been insult after insult after. We're so offended. The American people are so offended at this point.
And lawyers. Let me speak.
And lawyers
for my old profession.
Yeah, I know.
Flabbergasted. I'm not even sure how I can explain this to other people. Like,
but don't you at the same time think, because for me, I would have never gone to law school. It's not how I'm wired. But don't you think that this is making people interested? Like I know more about the law than I even care to know. Right?
Yeah, everybody went to law school suddenly. Yes.
Yeah, and they're even having classes. Some podcasts are like, oh, we're going to have a class about how the law works. Like Jamie Raskin was having a class via Brian Tyler Cohen on the Constitution. I think he might still be doing it. It's important that we learn more. Like what's happened is we've devolved into this country where the people that are in leadership positions have gone lawless.
And I want to go back to my original statement. Historically, this streak was part of our personality from the beginning.
The streak of misogyny and
autocracy. And because campaigns to sway the election every 50 years.
Right. What do you think it's going to break down so we can break through from what you see astrologically?
There are some people who are very cynical who believe that the only solution is to break the country up and get a new chart. I personally don't think that's what.
To break the country up?
Mm-hmm. I personally don't. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think we're going to blow up into, like the USSR. So,
you mean get a new astrology chart?
That the country will splinter into several countries. And that would change things.
I've heard astrologers say that. My take, and I keep going back to this, is that from the very beginning of Trump, I got that in all the disruption that started, that he came in so that our democracy would break down, to be rebuilt, to be stronger.
I would agree with that.
He's testing every aspect of our government, every one. I mean, which one has he not touched through his heinous behavior? I can't even think of one. He's broken every law. He's broken every commandment. He's broken every law. Have you seen the ad about like this person there's an ad and this anonymous person is calling to get a job, and he says, well, I'm a sex offender and I've got all these indictments against me. It's a Republican organization.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's great.
Against Trump. I don't know the official name of their organization.
Is that the Lincoln Project?
No, I think it's called Republicans Against Trump or something. If anybody knows, you can put it in the chat. I can barely see the chat, but I'll look for it.
I'm scrolling over trying to see if there's an actual question here, or if people just are going blah.
Oh yeah. Thanks for looking. Yeah, so that's out there, and he's tested every single aspect of our democracy. I can't think of one that he hasn't pushed. We've had, he's just pushed up against and kept pushing the envelope, and he continues to. So the Supreme Court, what do you think we're going to see next week?
I don't think they're going to give us a decision next week.
Okay, so
I think they're going to continue to keep their 5 heavy hands on the scales of justice and just delay.
Yeah, that's what I got. It was like when I read on it was like very muddled. It's like they're not going to do the right thing, and they're just going to keep us all hanging.
Well, they're going to do something mealy mouth, like send it back for determination of stuff that was already determined. Like, okay.
Yeah, I know. That's what they do. That was Roe, right? That's what
they're gaming
do.
it.
They're going to throw it back to the states.
Oh no, this is a little different. They're going to, but have faith in Chutkin. Okay. One thing she can do, even if they hog tie her, is hold evidentiary hearings that will bring all this crap to light. And keep in mind, under all of these awful transits, Arizona just indicted 11 people for election interference, and he's an unindicted co-conspirator in that. I think something's also brewing is it brewing in Michigan, or has it happened? So there are, there's a time delay for a lot of this stuff, and it's not happening with the speed that we want. But here's a framework for you. Pluto in the sign of Capricorn from 2008 until the end of this year, it's ducking in and out, has been absolutely ripping through the foundations of our institutions, and bringing the ground rules up for complete reworking. And we have one more bout of this beginning of September until the middle of November, and then that's it for 254 years. So
Pluto in Capricorn. So Pluto's in Aquarius, but it's going into Capricorn in September to how many weeks?
Till the middle of November. So it's making its final cleanup round. It's going to head back to the final degree of Capricorn and sit there, and it'll be there in at the election.
During the election, it'll be in Capricorn, and then
at finishing up its time there. Mm-hmm.
Wow, do you think that's intriguing?
Of course, it's intriguing.
What do you make of that? That it's
I think
to Aquarius.
I don't have a bad feeling about this election. I know a lot of people are. I know a lot of astrologers are
freaking out about what they're doing and what they're saying. They're basically planning to steal it.
Right, but I don't think they're going to get away with it. I think there'll be a period of time of what the hell just happened, but I don't think they're, because remember, when did this start? It started with the damn Bush v. Gore decision.
Right, that's true.
Which also should not have been decided the way it was. And there are 3 people on the court now who were part of the legal team behind that. Did you know that?
Right.
Roberts, Coney Barrett, and Kavanaugh were on the legal team doing that. And that was a nonsensical decision. And an astrologer that's widely respected, Michael Luton, said at the time, the loser will be the winner and the winner will be the loser.
Who is this that said that?
An astrologer named Michael Luton.
I don't think I've
based in New York. I've known him for a long, long time. Anyway, and I think that's what happened. So we're, I think there'll be a bunch of Trump's lawyer having unexpected surgery.
Oh, good question.
Well, previously undisclosed surgery. I am not going to buy into unexpected.
I agree. Undisclosed. So the reason that we came together today was to look at what's going on with the Supreme Court and that whole immunity. We were bowled over. I mean, and the lawyer, Sower. Maybe when we do a show.
If it's your official act, yeah, sure, you can go have your opponent assassinated and there's no liability for that. Sure, right.
I think that we're all reeling from that because, I mean, that feels, what a betrayal, what a violation of our sense of safety as if it hasn't been violated enough. But we wanted to kind of get a handle on what was going on and what the likely energy, the trajectory is. And it sounds
bad news for Trump in the long run. In the long run, it's
Yeah.
bad news for Trump.
With the Supreme Court.
Everything this week, bad
Yeah.
news for him in the long run.
Yeah. So don't be swayed
No,
and to freak out them.
no.
It's challenging. That's why we do what we do. That's why we're here. It's challenging. And what's most challenging is, oh, it sounds like Sour, the guy's name, the lawyer's name. What's most challenging is to keep our eye on succeeding and saving our democracy, despite everything. It's a really good lesson in life, right? We go through all these bumps and these challenges, and they make us stronger, and they're aggravating, and they're upsetting and frightening. But we really learn to be really resilient, to just to do what needs to be done, to just respond to what needs doing, and to make this country stronger, and to not check out. You see people checking out. It's like, do not. And people have been saying in the chat, I don't watch the news anymore. I'm like, no. You have to know what's going on. Don't check out. That's what fascism wants us to do. I know that we're going to be okay, but I also know it's not going to be easy.
Oh,
Pluto,
I don't mean to say it will be.
No, you didn't say that. Pluto going into Aquarius feels appropriate when I psychically look at it, because this breakdown of the old, being the Capricornian, really I get dogma, all that kind of energy of just, there's nothing wrong with being a Capricorn, don't get me wrong. I feel like Pluto going into Aquarius is hope for the new world that's coming out, that's being birthed out of all of this. I do know we're going there. We just gotta hang in there.
Things are going to start feeling a lot calmer in May. My forecast for May is already up. Go read it. Empowermentlimited.net. Yeah, May, June, July. It's going to feel like, wow, I remember this. August is dicey, but there's going to be a lot of vises coming in on people that you will be happy are getting the squeeze.
And just since I have my Ukraine button on today, do you think that Ukraine getting aid created an energetic shift? Because I really felt that.
Yep.
It was kind of like we reached the top of the mountain, and now we're kind of, it's going to get a little bit easier. All right, this is a pop-up.
I like a name. Yeah. So thank you for taking the time to do this. Everybody, Annette is in the process of moving, and yet she was compelled to do this. Okay.
Help me. All this is going to change. The last show in this space will be tonight or Monday. Haven't decided yet. I'm going to move my office before I move my residence stuff. So, and I may even squeeze in a little fundraiser of a concert with songs from my new record coming out, Songs for Democracy. Please join me tonight for PNN right here on my channel, 7 p.m. as usual, and book a reading. This channel that I have is dependent. My income is dependent on you booking readings and spiritual life coaching. PsychicAnnetteDion.com is where to go to sign up. And Kathy, we only have a couple minutes. We do pop up once in a while, but I think our regular show is scheduled tentatively for the 7th, which is right on the new moon. We'll check back. Does that work, do you think?
Yeah. And the new moon forecast will be up early next week. I've already done it.
Oh, good. So check that out at
empowermentunlimited.net. And if you prefer to just listen, the Professional Aquarian YouTube channel. It's the same information both places.
Excellent. So join us, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for making the time. We feel calmer, I think.
Go have a good weekend, and just know that May is going to be better. May will be better, so be nice to yourself.
The sun
I gave my 4-year-old ice cream this week. So, my inner 4-year-old. I do not have a child.
Yeah.
And I haven't had ice cream in years, and it was stupendous. So do something really nice for yourself.
Oh, I might do that. There's a vegan ice cream place that I like. I'm not vegan, but it's really good. Okay. Thank you. See you soon. Join me tonight for PNN. Namaste.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.